Hey, you said you were going to ask me questions.
That's where you get to say hello. This is gonna be a shit show.
I'll be a shit show from hell.
All right,
Hello
Mama,
there.
thank you.
Welcome to the Bucklersberry Lemonade Podcast.
On tonight's episode, Missing in North Carolina, Cold Cases That Need to Be Solved. And welcome back, everyone, to Bucklesberry Lemonade. This episode is about the missing in North Carolina, the cold cases that need to be solved.
Well, hello.
How are you?
I cannot complain.
Was
It's good to have you back. Last one I flew solo.
I know. Didn't you miss me? I know you did.
I did miss you. I did absolutely miss you.
Alrighty.
And we have a very interesting episode today.
Yes, we do. Some of them are just wow.
Yeah, as interesting as these cases are, they are very sad indeed.
They really are.
Hopefully, anybody listening out there today or over the next time period of time, if you have any information or know anything, please contact the proper authorities. It would be wonderful if our podcast could help give closure to, if nothing more than one family. Then all of this would have been worth everything, would it not?
It would definitely be worth it.
Okay.
It would most definitely.
Are you ready to get started?
Let's go to it.
Let's dive right in. First up, we're going to go over the case of Steve Lewis Arrowood Jr. And this case comes from Gastonia, North Carolina. Steve went missing on April the 3rd, 1975. His date of birth was 06/26/1956. He was 18 at the time of his disappearance, around 5'8" to 5'9" and 145 pounds. Blonde hair, blue eyes. He had a small reddish birthmark on his chin and a small scar under his chin. He may go by the name of Lewis. He is right-handed, and his family referred to him as Lewis. Okay. He was last seen in Gastonia, North Carolina on April 3rd, 1975. He was living with his parents at that time on the 400 block of Chestnut Street. He disappeared and left behind an uncashed income tax refund check for around $500. He left home one time before without any prior warning around March the 9th of the same year, 1975. He did leave a note for his parents, but he didn't say where he was going. And he had taken out $815 from his savings account. And his parents got a letter from him on March the 20th saying he was fine and that he had gotten a job. Seems that Steve or Lewis had gone to Dallas, Texas to see a 30-year-old married woman whom he was having an affair with. So there's trouble brewing already.
Most definitely.
The woman's husband, a long-distance truck driver, he caught them on March 30th and threatened to kill Steve or Lewis. The woman agreed to travel to New Orleans with her husband as long as he didn't kill Arrowood. Stephen Lewis returned to Gastonia on March the 31st. His lover denied having ever seen him again after he left Texas.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that one, but we'll get further into that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
A letter addressed to Steve Lewis Arrowood Jr. and postmarked from New Orleans arrived in the mail on April the 7th, which was 3 days after his disappearance. The authorities opened it and read it, thinking it would provide clues of his whereabouts, but they ended up saying it didn't contain any valuable information, and the letter has never been released to the public.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Not so sure.
I think there was something in there. But we'll get into that.
Yeah, it looks like there would have been a clue here and there, instead of all the drama of an affair. Oh, I love you. I miss you. I'm so sorry. I mean, I don't know. I just would think there might have been, but who knows? Um, in the days after his return home, he had told his friends he thought the woman's husband was following him. And on the day of his disappearance, he had dinner with his sister at the Fern Forest Apartments and then went out with a friend. While he was with this friend, he made the comment that his lover's husband's car with the man inside it was close by and that he could see them. He said he couldn't see the driver directly, but he knew it was a man. The car did follow them as they drove away.
Hmm.
Arrowood dropped his friend off at his home on East 3rd Street around 10:30 p.m., and this is the last time anybody saw him. Several hours later, his 1971 Toyota was found parked near the swimming pool at Fern Forest Apartments. And remember, that's where his sister stayed.
Yeah.
The vehicle's door was open. Arrowwood's belongings were inside. Keys were in the ignition, and a pair of men's underwear was laying on the ground behind the car.
That is so weird.
Weird. 2 weeks after Arrowwood went missing, police located and questioned his lover's husband. He did indeed refuse to take a polygraph test, and they let him go. This individual has never been publicly identified, and it's unclear whether he's considered a suspect in this case.
Wow.
Yeah. Steve Lewis Arrowwood Jr. parents. His father died in 2008. His mother followed in 2012. In their obituary, it is noted that they listed their son, Stephen Lewis Arrowwood Jr., as preceding them in death. His 4 sisters are still alive. Foul play is suspected in this disappearance, and it remains unsolved.
Wow. Mm-mm-mm.
So we got
That
a red-blooded, all-American teenager uh, out and about. I got a lot of questions about this one.
I've got a lot too, and there's no answers. Like, why was the underwear on the ground?
I have been through that one and been through that one, and when you do your research on this thing, and the law enforcement didn't put any credence in the underwear.
Well,
Okay, I
back
mean,
in the 70s, you know how it was.
yeah, I personally feel. Tell me if you feel this way. I I think he was changing clothes to get in the swimming pool.
I'm not so sure. I mean, if he thinks somebody's following him, why is he gonna go lollygag in the pool?
Uh,
And
18 years old.
well, okay,
Uh,
true.
his
It
thoughts were about as long as his hair was.
well, true, but the husband could have found the underwear, threw 'em
Mhm.
at him when he got him, and they were left there.
That's very possible. And you know what? He's right there by a swimming pool. Those underwear could have belonged to anybody.
That's very true. They might not have been his.
Mhm.
I'm wondering too what the letter said. I mean, nobody said anything about the letter.
Yeah, I don't know. It might have been just a simple love letter. Maybe she didn't think anything was going to happen. Maybe hey, it could have been maybe a Dear John letter. I'm very curious to know how they met.
Well, true. Well, okay. He said he was going on a job in Dallas, Texas.
Well, see, that's the thing. He went to Dallas. He went to Texas to meet her and got a job there. See, I think what he thought was going to happen. She's going to leave her husband. They're going to get together, have a life together, settle down in Texas, and and move forward. And he may not have had any idea of the danger that he was really in.
Well, regardless, I think the lover knows or still knows if she's still alive what happened.
Well, and that husband was a long distance truck driver.
Yeah.
According to the reports, he's telling a friend of his he's in a car. He's not riding around an 18-wheeler. And when we looked this up, by today's standards, that ended up being how far from point A to point B?
Oh gosh, it was 940 something miles.
See,
944, I think it was.
so close to 1,000 miles. It's
Right.
You might as well say 2,000 miles round trip. And that's now. What was that in 1975?
I know. That'd been longer, I think.
Yeah.
Cars, trucks were different. It was just, and they didn't have, or did they have? They probably did have the interstate, but it weren't like it was.
No, I doubt it was anything like it is now.
Nope. But I really think, um, the underwear they were left, the husband came across them in his laundry. I do.
Yeah, that's one of the theories when you read online that maybe he found the underwear in his laundry, chunked them at him, um, in a fit of rage. I go back to it. I think he was kidnapped in his swimming trunks. I think he had on. I think he changed standing there as he was getting into his swim trunks. The husband, if it was the husband, saw a moment of opportunity and grabbed him. Because if you're gonna grab somebody when they're most vulnerable, when they're changing clothes, for sure.
Yep. But the police, they didn't investigate it, because the boy was having an affair, and in Texas and in the South back in the 70s, the police would just about do anything to let the man off if you got caught having an affair,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and you know that.
yeah. I think unfortunately this is one of those cases that it got chalked up to
He deserved what he got.
either that or you got a young blooded, red blooded young man who's on the hunt, so to speak. And I mean, we used to see movies like this when we were kids. You're sneaking out the bedroom window or whatever. And that's basically what this is, you know. Um, Crime in that particular part, from what I can see, what I could research and find, didn't seem to be so crazy. I mean, it's Gastonia, you know.
Yeah.
And,
Um,
and you think about it, this guy, okay, Stephen Lewis Arrowood Jr., he withdrew over $800 out of his savings account. He disappeared in 1975, but he was driving a 1971 Toyota. That There's a little bit of he's upper middle class. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It comes
Uh-huh.
across as being upper middle class. Nothing wrong with that. So I'm not saying anything along those lines. I'm just speculating at this point. He
Yeah,
probably
well, all of this is a speculation, but I'm wondering too, now why didn't his family pursue it more? If it had been me and it had been one of my children, they've done wrong regardless, but still, I want to know. I'm gonna keep looking. That's what I want to know. Why
well,
wouldn't they?
yeah. Well, we don't know. I mean, it's very possible. It's very possible. Um, they did exhaust everything that they could. I mean, I'm not sure. I
But you don't see it. I mean, you don't go back and look. You don't see a lot on newspapers about it. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, the reality of it is 1975. It's almost 50 years ago. How much
yeah,
has been written down? I don't know.
I don't know either, but I still
It,
feel, I feel
it's
like the lover knew.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, in my mind, I think this points to the husband. You got a jealous, upset, and embarrassed husband.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's this 17-year-old kid, because you figure if she was 30, this guy, I mean, we don't know what his age is, but he could have been a little bit younger, a little bit older himself. He's embarrassed. Here's this 17-year-old kid who who is not a big kid by any means. I mean, he could have been 145 pounds soaking wet, and he's probably embarrassed, which turned her age real quick.
Yeah.
But what the other thing that is concerning to me, if he was taken at this apartment complex, why didn't anybody see it? I mean, this is in the daylight.
I know. That's another thing.
And we found pictures of it, and it's almost like a standard apartment complex from how we grew up,
Yep.
where the pool is, how everything's located, and nobody saw this. you know um maybe this guy didn't have a knife, maybe he didn't have a gun, maybe he was just so much larger, he was overpowering. It's like, hey, if you don't go ahead and get in the car with me now, I'm gonna hurt you right here. And you're
Uh,
17 years old. A 35-year-old man is ordering you around. He's
Yeah.
probably scared out of his mind.
Well, I see here. It says a few days after Lewis disappeared, Steve Lewis, Arrowood received an anonymous phone call, his dad,
Hmm.
from someone who said his son was buried near a convenience store on North New Hope Road.
Yeah.
I told the police, he said, and they told me to go home and forget about it. How
Like
do
you
you
do
do
that.
that?
Yeah. How do you do that?
I mean,
And
you don't check it, you don't,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
they didn't take things seriously, or they just, it was a good old boy network or
Meaning the
whatever.
police. Meaning
Yep.
the police. Yeah. I I'm not sure. I do know that they dragged a river or a lake close by them. And somewhere in that dragging, and this was around the end of April, beginning of May, um, a head was found.
Yep.
Somehow or another, this head got lost.
Now, how in the world do you lose a head? I mean,
I'm not sure. So could this have been Lewis at this point? I mean, we don't know. We will never know.
and the funny thing is, you don't even know who the lover or her husband is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing on that.
Yeah, they were dredging the French Broad River. They lost it, meaning the head, and they never recovered it, so they couldn't identify it. Over the years, there have been several John Does that people have tried to piece together if this could have been Steve Lewis Arrowood Jr., but nothing concrete, nothing so far.
Mm-mm-mm.
So,
Wow.
and it looks like there's a little bit of discrepancy here too. Some places say he was 17, some say he was 18, and
18.
some say he was 19.
Okay.
Either way, either way, it
He's
doesn't matter.
missing.
He's missing.
So,
He was 5'8" and 145 pounds, soaking wet.
mm-mm-mm. And see that there to me, mm, that's just, that's crazy.
And some of the articles that were published around this time, um, They questioned the husband. He admitted he was in the parking lot and spoke with the youngin. Spoke with him. Now, how much circumstantial evidence do you need at this point? Your ass is supposed to be in Texas, but you in Gastonia, North Carolina, and you've just admitted to talking to a young man who's had an affair with your wife.
I know. That is so, that is crazy. I just can't believe it. I mean, to this day, I can't. I mean, that is just crazy. They lose a head, don't question intensely, and don't keep him as a suspect. Just let him go. I mean, and tell the parents, don't worry about what that call you got. I mean, I just it's to me it's a botched up or cover up.
Something um i- is wrong. I mean, we go back to, we know his dad received a phone call stating his son was buried near convenience store on North New Hope Road.
Yeah.
He was told by the police, just go home and forget about it. Now, is that because they investigated it and deemed it just to be a prank? It wasn't real. Maybe, maybe. I'm not sure, but then you find the head after dredging a creek
And lose it.
and you lose it.
How do you lose a head? I mean, come on, you got somebody's head.
I'm not sure, but where's the connection to? eh, And again, we're reaching now. We're going for the conspiracy angle, but where's the police? Where's their win in covering this up? If that's the case,
I don't know. Like I said, good old boy network. Well, he was boinking his wife. He got what he deserved. If that were me, I'd done the same thing. And blow. You know how back then it used to be. I mean, we're right here in the deep south.
yeah, I know, I get that. And there was even talk of a North Carolina coroner trying to ID a body that had been found 12 days after young Steve Lewis Arrowood went missing. Um, but nothing ever became of that. But you know, could that have been him? I think, and enough time has passed now. I mean, the woman he had the affair with, she'd be what, pushing 80 now,
She'd be somewhere around there.
and her husband could have been pushing 80, maybe even a little older than that. Is he even still alive? Did he get away with murder?
He probably did. Now that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. That's my thoughts. But I believe he got away with murder.
Yeah, yeah, it's certainly.
Now I do. I believe that. That's just
And
it's.
they can call it circumstantial evidence, but okay, we've got motive. I caught you with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
If the police question him, like we've researched, and he admits that he was in Gastonia following him, okay,
That would be. That would
intent,
be. Yeah.
intent,
I mean, you're. Well, why are you following him? I mean,
and then you make the comment that, yeah, I had a discussion with him in the parking lot. I mean, you've already told the guy in Texas, you know, it, you're gonna have to leave her alone. And listen, we all know how affairs go. You get heated up like that, it don't necessarily always break off right that minute. There's probably a little more to that. They probably saw each other a few more times.
and that might have been. But still, and yet, okay. Was this woman abused? Did this man abuse her? What? I mean, is she even alive? I mean, does anybody eat? That to me, they're all questions. I mean, why wouldn't she? If she saw something, and that's why she's not saying nothing. And I do believe that. And
Yeah.
that's she's just as guilty as her husband.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Just as guilty as he is. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact remains that a young man has lost his life, and you've got a family that is, if his sisters are still living, they're mourning the loss of a brother. And I'm
Yeah,
not saying I'm not saying him having an affair was right. I'm
it's
not
not
saying
right.
that.
No, nobody is saying that.
But
But
he's between 17 and 19 years old.
and this is at least a 30-year-old man, if not older.
Yeah, somebody in this scenario should have had a little more common sense, and I'm not so sure that someone should have been Steve Lewis Arrowood because of his age. You know, I mean,
Well, I
you're
mean,
so worked up and mad that you're willing to leave Texas to come all the way to North Carolina to confront basically
a
and
boy.
a boy, even though if he's 19 years old, at this point he's old enough to drink, drive, vote, and go to war.
This goes back then. You could do it all: drink, drive, smoke, go to war. I mean, you could. He could have done. He was considered, by all intents and purposes, an adult.
Yeah.
But we all know our brain is not fully developed at that age.
Mm-mm. Nowhere
So
near. Nowhere
we're
near.
not. He's still basic. And boys mature slower than girls do. We
Yeah.
know that too.
We do know that. And
Mm.
unfortunately, this is one of those things to where um, again, at the time of his disappearance, he's 5'9". He's 145 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes, good looking kid. Um, somebody knows something.
They know something. They sure do.
And hopefully somebody will come forward and say that they know something. I mean, even if the husband is still alive, can't you come forward, go ahead and take a polygraph test, get some stuff off your chest, or are you scared?
Because at his age, I mean, let's just say, he's going to be treated a little bit different if he goes to prison now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had his whole life. He's lived his whole life, and this boy basically was just getting started.
Yeah, just getting started, and he's forever trapped in time.
Yeah.
Um, I just it's just a sad situation, and maybe everybody's looking in the wrong direction. Maybe it's not the husband, although I kind of think
I
it
I
is.
kind of think it was too. I do. I mean, that's just
Yeah. Stephen Lewis Arrowwood would be 68 years old today if he was still alive. Um, and there's really not a lot more we can say about it except that um, he more than likely is no longer with
with
us,
us.
and somebody knows something.
Somebody knows something. And
Between Gastonia, New Orleans,
Texas.
and Texas, somebody knows something.
Somebody does. Hey, you can't go. They say they have to tell somebody. So somebody, I mean, if
Well,
not, he is a very cold, cold, cold-hearted man.
don't you think that he probably, if he did this, and I'm speculating, went home and, yeah, girl, took care of your boyfriend, you little North Carolina boyfriend. Um, so he
Yeah.
probably had to have told her at some point.
If he didn't tell her she was there when it happened.
I mean, you look at it this way, and we were talking about this earlier. I understand being pissed off. I understand a crime of passion. I understand all that. But you mighty pissed off. to travel 2,000 miles total, maybe even more than that back in 1975, to hurt somebody and go all the way back. I mean, are you 2,000 miles mad at somebody?
It sounds like not me. I ain't.
No, no, not you, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm saying. Yeah, I wouldn't. I might be mad. I might be mad as all get out, but I ain't driving that far.
No,
Mm-mm.
that's just crazy.
That is very crazy.
But, folks, as we move on into the next case, if you have any information regarding Steve Lewis Arrowood Jr., who vanished in 1975 from Gastonia, North Carolina, and with her husband being a long distance truck driver, you could be anywhere in the United States right now. If you know something, please contact the North Carolina authorities.
Please do.
All right. And with that, who are we moving to now?
Deborah Jean Ashby. Ashbury. Bury. Asbury.
Asbury. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm mixing up a lot of names. I'm sorry.
Okay.
She has been missing since 9/26/1994 from Lexington, North Carolina. She's a female, white. Her date of birth was 12/16/1967. She would be 56. She was 26 years old at the time of her disappearance, 5'9", 140 pounds. She was wearing a white sweatshirt, blue jeans, white Reebok sneakers, and several rings, including one with the word love and a black onyx stone.
You
Her,
remember those rings?
I do. I had one,
Yeah.
a black onyx. Caucasian female, black hair, brown eyes. She has a birthmark on her right leg near her calf. Her ears and navel are pierced. Her maiden name is Marlowe, and some accounts refer to her as Deborah Marlowe Asby or Deborah Jean Marlowe.
Yeah.
Um, she was last seen leaving her home in the 400 block of West Side Drive in Lexington, North Carolina at approximately 8 a.m. on September 26, 1994. She had told her sister she was going to meet her boyfriend, Andy Probst, Propst,
Probes. Yeah.
at a store on West Fifth Avenue. She left her purse and keys behind and also left food for the day's dinner defrosting on the kitchen counter. She's never been heard from again. Both Probst and her ex husband had previously threatened her, and the police were summoned to Deborah's house on domestic violence complaints several times in the months before her disappearance. In July 94, just 2 months before her disappearance, Deborah was charged with shooting her ex husband. She had filed assault charges against him twice. The first complaint in 93 was withdrawn. She'd made the second complaint in August of 94, and he had a court appearance about it scheduled for October. She has 9 siblings and 4 children. Her ex husband was the father of one, and the other 3 were fathered by Prost. Deborah's youngest child was only 6 months old at the time of her disappearance. Wow. Her loved ones describe her as a devoted mother and stated it's uncharacteristic of her to leave without warning, and it remains unsolved and foul play is suspected.
Mm, sad.
That is
You know,
very
her
sad.
her family is still actively looking for her. They have a Facebook page, which they've called Bring Me Home, that they've set up, and they're still very active on that page. I was looking at it today, as a matter of fact,
Really?
and they are still actively looking for her.
Wow.
James Marlowe, that's Deborah's brother. He's the oldest of her 9 siblings that you mentioned. And from everything that I could find, every week they all take turns calling the police. And if they don't call the police, they show up at the police station. And it's been going
Mm.
on for over 25 years. So, automatically you got two suspects, an
Yep.
ex-husband and a,
They
and a
both threatened her.
yeah. Well,
So
she shot one.
her ex-husband.
Yeah.
And it says James Marlowe, Deborah's brother, the oldest of her 9 siblings, every week since their sister went missing, they take turns calling the police.
Yeah.
And
It,
then if they don't call them, they're up there at the police station.
yeah. Every single week.
They want to know, and see, that's how I would be.
Mhm. And
Mm-mm-mm.
guys, if you have any information on this, please contact the Lexington Police Department in North Carolina.
Okay, there is a picture up here we need to put up there. It says, I don't see her ruled out as a match for this UID found in Onslow County in December of 95. There's a picture and it's saying it looks somewhat like her.
Yeah, I did a little digging into that, and there was enough discrepancy there that they wouldn't say
Okay.
one way or another. Um, it is all around the same time frame, and things can be very circumstantial at that point. Maybe, um, but that would not be that big of a stretch to be from her area to Onslow County. Onslow County meaning Jacksonville, North Carolina, places like that. There
Her
was
dog. Oh, go ahead. I'm
there
sorry. I
was
didn't mean to cut you.
also another unidentified person that they thought they might have had a match to. That was in December of 1994 in Tallulah, Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
Height and weight are off, but the dates match up. I'm thinking a little closer to home.
I'm thinking it could be a little closer to home too. Unless they went and just did it. And sometimes when you do something, they'll
Yeah.
go way out just so they'll never be connected back to it.
In 2005, they did a balloon release
Oh,
for
did
her
they?
in honor of her, and still nothing has become of it. And I think again, this is one of these things. There's somebody that knows something.
I believe somebody knows something. And it's sad. It it almost, when we do stuff like this, it just about it tugs at my heart. It just
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, I feel for all these people. I don't know how they feel, and I pray I never do, but I do. I feel for these people.
I do too. I
Her
really, really do.
her
Um,
daughter has been trying to keep it up too.
yeah, her daughter, it's my understanding, runs the Facebook page.
Oh, okay. And it's and the Facebook page, do you know the name of it?
According to what I found, it's called
Bring Me Home.
Bring Me Home, and that can be found by typing in Debra Asbury, Bring Me Home.
Yep.
And again, folks, a lot of our information when we go over these things, we tend to use the Charlie Project website a lot. A lot of very valuable information there.
Yep.
Way too many missing people.
Way too many.
Um,
These people need to be brought home.
yeah, yeah, and it's one of those things to where that's really about it. As active as her family is, nobody really knows anything more than what we've just discussed, or nothing has really come to light.
Nothing. I mean, they're here and they're gone. I mean, I just see that's in the daughter, the one that was 6 months old. She has no memories of her mom.
None. And again, our hope is somebody listening to this podcast, wherever you may be, if you know something, call the police, call the proper authorities, let them know that you do know something.
And
Um,
most of them, you don't have to leave your name.
yeah, just get it off your conscience, get it off your mind if you know something. Um,
Pray. I mean, pray
perhaps
that
perhaps you're the killer. You did this. Come clean with it. And I didn't
get
mean
your
to
soul
interrupt you.
right.
Yeah,
No, it's fine. I mean, it does it. This stuff really, you get to looking at all of these faces, all these people, and somebody loves them. They were
absolutely.
here. Somebody wants them home if they don't have anything but just a place to go and visit them.
Yeah, just give them some closure. I mean, these families desperately need
They
some.
desperately deserve it. They have been years without, and that to me is it's really really sad.
It really is. And guys, that's really all the information that we have um, regarding Deborah Jean Asbury. But again, if you know anything, please come forward. Um, we'll move on to another case now. This one involves Jeffrey Combs, and I will pull his information up here. Let's see here. There we go. Jeffrey Lynn Combs. He went missing on October 23rd, 2008. He went missing from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. He would be 56 years old today, 5/20, 1967. He was 41 years old at the time of his disappearance. I actually remember this one. I remember this being on the news.
I
Um,
don't remember this one.
I do. I remember it. Um, he suffered from a liver disease, which was believed to be terminal. He
He
had
had a
suffered.
stroke too, didn't he?
Yeah, he'd had a stroke about 4 months before his disappearance.
That's why he was living with his mom.
Hmm. And he had lost the use of his left arm and could only use three fingers on his right hand. Um, so again, he's in a situation he can't really defend himself.
No.
And this fella here he's had a hard life.
Yes, he has.
Sandy brown hair, blue eyes. His nickname was Jeff. He had a tattoo of a barbed wire around his arm, mustache at the time of his disappearance, and his middle name was Lynn, but he had a tendency to spell it Lane, Lane. And here's what we know: he frequently used a scooter to get around. He had left a note at home saying someone had broken in the house and stolen his scooter, two helmets, and his cellular phone, and he was going to find them. He was going to go find the thief. Uh, and he asked his mother to look for him if he wasn't home by dark. That sounds really weird, right there.
That sounds weird. I mean, that sounds like he knew it might be trouble.
Trouble. Yeah. Um, his mother came home from work around 11:30 a.m., found the note, and she spent the next day and night looking for him. And to his mother's credit, now she has passed, but she went to her grave trying to find her son.
She said she would go to her grave looking for her son, and
And
she
she
did.
did. She most certainly did. Bless her heart. And this
Mm.
woman had been through some things too. We'll get to that.
Yes, she has.
At some point, she was out of the house. Jeff apparently came home and changed clothes, and he took a camouflage jacket when he left. And when his mother came back home, she found his wet, dirty clothes on the floor and pork chops cooking on the stove. Strange.
That's strange. Either I'm thinking either he went looking, didn't find, they knew he was looking and came back, got him maybe.
Not sure. Just kind of for you to start cooking, that's indicative you're not going out anymore.
That's it.
Okay. Um, like we said, he had a very troubled past. He had dropped out of school, ninth grade, 1998. His father, who from all accounts was a sack of shit,
He beat him, beat his
beat him,
brother.
beat his brother, beat her, his mother,
Yep.
shot him in the neck during an argument.
I think he
According to,
shot him more than one time.
he may have.
I read an article on his mother,
Hmm.
and she said that there had been more than just that. He'd shot him like 8 or 9 times.
Oh my gosh, really?
I think. Now, I could, I'd had to dig it back up, but
Yeah.
she said he had been shot more than one time, and that the poor lady, she felt bad. I mean, she felt like she had put them, her sons, both of them, they had a hard life. And, she's had to go to her grave feeling guilty. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
that.
Wow. What a big man. Let me shoot my child. He was charged with attempted murder. Case was dropped because Jeff, being a good son, refused to cooperate with the prosecutors. Um, his dad looks like he died of a heart attack on Jeff's birthday in 1999. So I guess he gave him something decent for
He
his birthday.
gave him a good birthday present, and that's bad to say.
And sadly enough, this affected Jeff. I mean, Jeff is the one that discovered him.
Oh,
And
did he? I didn't know that.
Jeff discovered him. He'd been drinking heavily and taking pills, got into an argument with his uncle, and wounded him with a sword. He also accidentally hurt his mother when she tried to intervene.
Stop it. Yeah.
He pled guilty to assault with a deadly weapon in connection to the incident and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. After his release from prison in 2008, he tried to adjust to civilian life, kept all of his appointments with his parole officer. He moved back in with his mother, June, after he had suffered his stroke and disappeared 4 months later. It looks like a few days before his disappearance, Jeff had invited two homeless individuals, a man and a woman, to his home, which his mother kicked him out after she found the man urinating off her front porch.
I would have too.
Yeah, and I imagine that's a little bit of a shock. You come home, there's two strangers in your house. Oh, by the way, they're going to
Yep.
stay with us.
And they
But,
lived in a tent near the
mhm,
Reddy's River.
mhm. And his mother, tracked them down and confronted them.
Yes,
And
she did.
and they said conveniently, and maybe it's what happened, but conveniently, they told him they saw her get into a car with two women.
Mm-mm-mm.
Later that week, the police found Combs' scooter, one of the helmets, and his jacket off Suncrest Orchid Road beside the Reddy's Rivers, near those tents. The scooter had
Mm-mm-mm.
missing parts. Authorities state they had interviewed the residents of the homeless camp and considered them possible witnesses, but none of them were ever named as suspects in his disappearance.
Mm.
Sadly,
Okay.
his mother believed he was deceased, and the
She
police considered his disappearance suspicious.
and I did read in when I was reading about her that she petitioned the court to have him declared legally dead,
Yeah.
but she kept searching for him. But she did that, I guess, because of the insurance.
Yeah. I mean, and that's some form of closure, you know. And everything that I have
I,
read said that he was a big hearted guy. He had a heart as big as gold. You
that's
know.
what I read, and that's it wouldn't be closure, not for a mama. I mean, how's that closure? I can't see him. I can't see his body. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know where he's laid to rest. Um, she did that, and I understand why she did that, but that would be no closure for me. And I hate that bless her heart, that she went to her grave, but she knows now what happened to her son.
Yeah. And it was over insurance. She had taken out a policy, Globe Life and Accident Insurance, and she kept up and paid all the premiums, and the life insurance policy was still in effect. And that's just normal. It's
That's
just normal.
normal. Yeah, I mean,
I,
that I
I don't
wouldn't
see
even
anything out
consider.
of, yeah,
No.
nothing out of the way. Because
Nothing out of the way about that.
she literally went to her grave trying to figure out what happened to her
And
son.
she did, and she in there, the newspaper that she'd called the newspaper. It was a newspaper article or something somebody wrote from the newspaper about her,
Yeah.
and I mean, she did everything. She kept looking for her son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People would come every year to help search.
Yeah, the name of that article was "I'm Still Looking Till I Die," and that's a mother's love.
That is.
But guys, if you have any information,
Please, please, please let somebody know.
yeah, Jeffrey Combs, he was 41 at the time of his disappearance. He disappeared from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, on October 23rd, 2008. And
Mm.
with those people being transient, um, honestly, not saying that they're downtrodden, they're homeless. He's had a stroke. He can only use 3 fingers between both arms and hands.
So it wouldn't take much for somebody
Mm, mm,
to
to overpower.
overpower him.
Yeah, and I think he might have been a opportunity crime.
He might have been because they took his. I know they found it, but they probably figured there was no sense in them keeping it. But his scooter was
Yeah.
missing and 2 helmets. I mean,
Probably what happened was it might not have had. I'm theorizing. What if it was running low on gas? They wrote it out and then just started breaking it down for parts, trying to
maybe
get money for just
whatever they
whatever.
could.
Yeah.
That could be it.
But again, guys, that's Jeffrey Combs. He was 41 at the time of his disappearance. He disappeared October 23rd, October 2008. If you have any information involving this case, please reach out to the proper authorities.
Please
And with
do.
that, guys, we will head into our first commercial break. We'll be right back. 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Back. And this will be our final person that we will be talking about tonight. Her name is Denise Porch, and she has been missing since 7/31/1975. And she's from Charlotte, North Carolina, female, of course, white. Her date of birth is March 25th, 1954. She would be around 70 years old now. At the time of her disappearance, she was 21 years old. She was 5'6" and 145 pounds. And she's a Caucasian female, blonde hair, blue eyes. They're her characteristics. There's nothing really as far as scars or anything. She was last seen in Charlotte, North Carolina on July 31st, 1975. She was employed as the manager of Yorktown Apartments on Tavola Road at the time and also resided in the complex. She left a note for her husband saying she'd left to show an apartment to a prospective renter. She was last seen during the afternoon hours as she showed a man around the property. She has never been seen again. There were no signs that a struggle had took place inside her own apartment, and the air conditioning and television set were left on. She had left all of her personal belongings behind, including her Camaro and her purse. The only things missing were the keys to the vacant apartments in the complex and a log of available units, which she would show to prospective tenants. She has never been seen again. An extensive search did not produce any clues as to her whereabouts. It says her family had her declared legally deceased in 1982, 7 years after her disappearance. It is not believed that Porch left of her own accord. Her family says she was happy with her life at the time of her disappearance, and she had just celebrated her first wedding anniversary. Wow.
Mm.
Larry Jean Bell emerged as a possible suspect in Porch's case in the mid-'80s. A photo of Bell is posted with this case summary. He was a former electrician and he lived on Cherry Crest Lane in 1975, approximately 300 yards from Yorktown Apartments.
And we know that Larry Bell was a serial killer that
Yeah,
had victims in North and South Carolina.
he was found guilty of the murders of two young women from South Carolina in '85 and sentenced to death.
And he lived, so he really lived across the way, 300 yards from her
That
Yorktown
is,
apartment.
yes, that is not, that's top skipping a jump.
Mm-hmm.
He maintained his innocence in this case, and he was never formally charged in connection with her disappearance. He's also the prime suspect in several other young women's disappearances and presumed murders in North Carolina. So,
And we got to mention her. That includes Sandee Cornett, who went missing in 1985. And the thing with Sandee, he freely admitted to knowing her. They knew each other.
wow.
And it's one of those things that in this case, Denise Porch resembles a lot of his other victims.
Victims.
Yeah.
And the authorities believe he was involved in her case.
There's possibility he was involved in Sandee Cornett's case as well. Just make mention of her real briefly, because guys, we're nearing the end of our time. But Sandee Elaine Cornett went missing on 11/18/1984 from Charlotte, North Carolina. She was 26 years old at the time. They did know each other. She went missing. She had dinner with her fiance. He drove back to South Carolina. He tried to call her. He didn't get an answer. No signs of a struggle or anything like that. But if they knew each other, there wouldn't have been a struggle.
Yeah.
Somebody tried to use a man and a woman tried to use withdraw cash from her account, totaling about $1,000. These are all things that Bell was known for doing. And while he denies killing Denise Porch, who went missing in 1975, he did tell authorities that he did know where Sandee Cornett was buried and drew a map, but nothing was ever found.
Well,
So, there's a possibility you got a serial killer linked to both of these. But to this day, neither Sandee nor Denise have ever been found. Denise Newsom Porch would be around 70.
70-ish, 70. But it says that he was executed in 96, so there's no way if he did it and they would really think it. Nobody, there's a chance they'll never know.
And sadly enough, another suspect popped up in her case too, in the Porch case. Someone tried to extort 50 grand in ransom from the family.
Yes.
And it turned out just to be somebody who,
an opportunist.
No clue to anything. And that person needed to go to jail.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah,
Yeah.
And they say it's just extremely, it's uncharacteristic of her not to contact them.
Yeah.
And that's sad. She just celebrated her first wedding anniversary. Life was starting out. I mean, she had the world by the horns.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole world ahead of her. She was declared legally dead in 1982, although her disappearance remains unsolved. Foul play is suspected, and I have all in. I mean, I don't know. You're 300 feet from a known
Serial
serial
killer.
killer.
But not at the time. They didn't know he was at the time. So I mean,
Absolutely.
he'd have been just
Yeah.
another whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, another person.
But I'm saying, if again, I know it's circumstantial, but you know, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck and quacks like a duck,
It's a duck.
it
And
is a duck.
I believe, I mean, he should have just said, and I think they enjoy the power. I mean, once they die, I mean, nobody's ever going to know unless somebody just happens to stumble across it.
That's right. And in the case of Sandee Cornett, and I know we kind of combine these two stories, but you really can't
We'll
say
need to
one
do one
without
on
the other.
her too one day.
Absolutely. It is known that they did in fact know each other. She did know
So
Larry
there's
Bell.
well, okay. I was thinking she knew this Miss Porch here.
No, she knew the serial killer. That is a proven fact, and he is the prime suspect in her disappearance. That's why he said, you know, hey, I'll draw you a map, show you where she's at, and nothing. He denied killing Denise Porch. He denied anything with that one at all. But in the case of Sandee Cornett, they feel like he was kind of playing around with them a little bit. He never would. He come out and say he did it, but he said, I'll draw you a map of where she's at. The likelihood that he probably
Got both of them.
killed her as well. And that goes back to one of our earlier podcasts. You know, they say in your lifetime, you walk by just so many serial killers. And we know I've walked by one. Well, not a serial killer, but a killer, somebody who's committed a murder.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it. We know for a fact I've walked by one.
Mm-hmm.
We did a
And
podcast
we've
on it.
all have probably.
Yeah.
I just don't want to know it. I just want them away from me.
That is so crazy. Begin, guys, if you guys know anything in regards to Sandee Elaine Cornett or in regards to Denise Newsom Porch, please contact proper authorities and let's bring some closure to these families.
Yes, they really need it.
They really do. And guys, we're coming to an end. I'm getting a light. I'm getting a light from the engineer. It's time to wrap it up for the evening. And guys, thank you so much for being here with us on the Bucklesberry Lemonade podcast.
Yes, we look forward to seeing you again. And please leave us comments. Let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think.
And please go back and listen to our other podcasts as well. So,
please, yes.
Well, guys, until next time, I'll let you lead us out.
Have a Bucklesberry lemonade kind of night and day and week.
Take care, guys. Until next time.